Hello, audience. It's an honor.
You see, everyone's a liar, baby. That's the truth. Said everyone's a liar, baby, and I got proof. You got a newborn, you feel you're in with a chance. You think you're in his arms, but you're in his hands. Still, he seems so cute and true. Groovy. But to get that boy up on the stand and to watch him raise his red right hand.
Welcome
What's up,
back.
Rob?
Welcome back, everybody, to the channel once again. I am Zach Axiola. I am joined once again by my good buddy Dylan. We got Right Dude in the chat. What is up? We are caught up with the Scream franchise up until the release of Scream 6 in March. Dylan, what is up?
My God, what a good movie this actually turned out to be. I can't wait to talk about it. Thanks for having me on, man.
Anytime. So, Scream 5. A lot going against this movie considering the circumstances. Wes Craven died in 2015. The fate of the franchise was put in limbo because the TV series was being put out on MTV. And yeah, for a while there it seemed like there would never be a fifth film to properly show what happened after 4, but thankfully, the directors of Ready or Not in 2019 came along to grace us with another film. So we are going to talk about it. But I think it's important to note with Scream 5 that, again, since this is the first one without Wes Craven directing, and despite having all the main actors back, yet a new studio, new crew, new behind the scenes and all that. So where did that put your expectations for Scream 5, knowing that it was basically a lot of new blood going in?
So that here's the thing. When it comes to movies like this, not remakes, but continuations without the original involved. It could either be one of two things. It could either be absolutely god awful, and it's just a cash grab that is tiring, and it's tiring how often that becomes the case with series today. Or it could be like this movie turned out to be, and it could be a really fantastic homage to the original, and nothing more, nothing less. And that's how I feel like this movie really is. I feel like this movie, um, while I really don't feel like you need this movie, I personally felt like Scream 4 ended the series pretty much perfectly. Yes, I know, Zach, you have a couple problems with how the movie actually ended, but I felt like you really didn't need more than that ending. But with this film coming out, I think it was a fantastic just a fantastic pay to homage to the first couple of films with a really good twist, a really interesting story to tell. It's definitely made and beloved by fans. At least you can tell by the product itself. Like fans actually loved what they were doing when they were the people behind this movie were fans, and they loved what they were doing with the story. You can tell that by the way this film is produced, which that doesn't happen too
Indeed.
often these days. Huh?
Indeed.
Yep.
So, and I'll admit, my thoughts and expectations for Scream 5 are all over the place because to start off, I didn't know if this was going to be a reboot or a remake or what it was going to be because even though they had the original actors coming back, I heard them say this was going to be a relaunch of the franchise, not exactly a sequel. And then I heard that it was just going to be called Scream again.
Yeah, you
But
thought
then
that
this
this was gonna be a remake basically, and it turned
yeah,
out to be a lot better than that.
yeah. But then the official synopsis said set 11 years after Scream 4, so then that put my mind at ease, and this quickly became one of my most anticipated movies of last year. And what did I think going it after walking out? Well, we will get into that. But first, as always, spoiler warning. If you have not seen Scream 5, we will be going into everything. And with
That's
that being
true,
said,
including who the killer is. So make sure you guys watch it before we talk.
yikes. So I think it's important to kind of set up what the premise of this movie is instead of just going right into it. Like we said, it is set 11 years after Scream 4. It focuses on a new set of characters, Sam Carpenter and her sister Tara, played by Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega respectively, along with their own little close-knit group of friends. They're all being stalked and attacked by a new Ghostface killer, to which they then seek out the help of the legacy characters, rounded out by Dewey. So that is pretty much the setup. What's up to Sean?
It's a
So
pretty
that
well done setup as well.
yep. So
I
this
like
is
how
pretty
different it is from the original, but yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll get into that.
yep.
Nice to see you, Sean.
So pretty much the legacy sequel, passing of the torch storyline of the Scream franchise. Now, with that being said, I will pass it up to Dylan for the positives of Scream 5.
Okay, positives. I actually have quite a few positives to talk about here. One thing that I really like that they did is the big twist that Sam is actually Billy's daughter. Like that, I think that kind of made the film for me, and she easily quickly became my favorite character of the movie. Definitely not my favorite character of the franchise, but she was a good part of the movie. It was different. It felt different enough, but it still paid homage to it. And the idea that she's the daughter of the killer, and I understand her story, and I feel kind of bad for her of what she had to go through as a kid finding that out, and she explains that very well in the movie of how it was being the daughter of the killer, finding out how she found out and how terrible that was. Again, I thought it was fantastic storytelling there. I really do. I found it very surprising, but I really do like the fact that it honestly just came down to someone wanting to you repay the stories and make her the killer. She wasn't the main character of the story. No, they wanted to make um Billy's daughter the main killer of the movie, which of course isn't the case because obviously we know that in this film, Sam's film, yes, that is right, is not Sydney's film anymore. It is Sam's film. She got the torch was literally handed to her, um, which that's another funny scene. The meta humor in this movie we'll talk about a little more, but the meta humor in this movie is fantastic. But Sam easily became the best part of the movie. I liked the other characters. I liked how we he involved uh what Randy. I believe it was Randy's nephew and niece. Is that it?
Yep. Yep.
I I
Mindy and
like
Chad,
yeah. Yeah,
which
I like those guys. I liked how they incorporated them. It was fun. Again, the meta humor was fantastic in this film. And I like the fact that even with the meta humor, they still had enough twist. I just have to say this one when Randy's niece is like turn around, watching the original movie
oh, that
the
was
original
great.
Stab movie when he was being killed. He's like turn around And the fact that she actually is smart enough to turn around and see the killer, I thought, thank God. It was a nice twist, but it was a nice twist that she was actually looked around. But it paid homage to the original film so well that it's just great. It made the whole thing that much fun, funner to watch. Again, you can really tell how much homage was paid to this film, and I really like that about it.
Excellent, excellent.
There's a lot more positives I can go through, but I'm pretty sure a lot of my positives are also going to be yours as well. So.
Pretty much. One of my biggest positives right off the bat is how they're able to keep the same tone and vibe that we know and love from the Scream films. The meta humor is still intact, the characters are as great as ever, and the kills not as grisly as they were in 4. Like, holy shit, like that chick's
Oh,
intestines.
but they were pretty bloody.
Oh yeah, like especially one where oh boy. But I gotta say, as far as characters, I know it. I'm probably gonna. I know it's predictable, but the Dewdrop. I
Yeah,
think.
great in this movie. Dewey
If,
was great.
if I don't know if this is you, but I personally think that both the performance from the actor and the writing from the character and the writing for the character, I think Dewey is the best he has ever been in all these movies.
I agree with you on that. You can definitely tell.
You can still tell that even all these years later, he still has that wit and that humor and that kind of goofball kind of attitude about him.
Mm-hmm.
Despite being more jaded and kind of fucked over by life, but he's still willing to help people out because that's just the nice guy that he is, and I loved that they did that. You could tell out of all the three that David Arquette was the one who was most invested and wanted to do something new with the character.
Yeah, and he did a great job as well on it. He really did.
Up until, all right, let's
His
rip the
death.
Band-Aid off.
His
Yeah,
death. That's
yeah.
right. Dewey dies in this movie. I can't.
Dewdrop.
Boy, there had to be some sort of death. Which actually, it's not an issue for me. I actually really like that kill. It makes a lot of sense. It was so emotionally impactful as well in terms of the movie itself. Um, I knew as soon as he was going to turn around and go after, because he's right. The rule of these movies is if you don't go for the head, they come back to life, and so he decides to go back. And the fact that he went back by himself, I'm like, okay, Dewey's gone. I know he's gone. So when it happened, I wasn't surprised, but it's like I can't believe Dewey's gone.
Yep, and pretty much when I saw this in the theater, me and everyone else that was in there seeing the late night 8 o'clock showing, when that happened, we were all like,
Yeah, I can see that because my God, I'm kind of happy I did see this movie in the theater because after seeing the build up to Dewey and how much I actually end up really liking him, like he's not my favorite character of the show. I think my favorite character, honestly, would have been Randy, and my second favorite character would have been Gail. But I really do like Dewey and Signe as well, and they were fantastic in this film as well. And I can't believe Dewey died.
yep. And that's another positive, actually, is controversial opinion. I like how they use Sydney in this.
I liked how they used Signe as well. It does make sense. Again,
Yep,
I consider after the
because
fourth movie.
I can buy the fact that she would want to get away from all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Especially
can.
since,
After the fourth movie, I feel like her story is done. What else could you tell about her? So
yep,
I do like how they literally and they poke fun of it. Of course, it's meta humor, but they do go right back to the original source and everything like that. They bring back Sydney. Sydney comes in after Dewey is dead, and she's there to help, but she is there to help the quote unquote main character of the movie, which it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars Episode 8 done right. I'm just saying it, guys.
mm, but yeah,
Like
again,
I'm telling you,
I do
this is
like
Luke
how she was.
Skywalker. This is Luke Skywalker coming in at the end of Episode 7 and handing the lightsaber to Rey, like he should have done in Episode 7, instead of what happened in Episode 8.
Yep, but I do like how she's used in this. I do like that she has a family, she has kids, so she has no reason to want to try to get back into all this. And if
Yeah, and
anything,
be
to
involved.
bring her back into the fold, you know, her best friend being killed, it works. It's
Yep.
heartbreaking, but it works. And Gail, what she's the one that had the least to do, but I still think she was great. You know, I mean,
I
that little
kind of
scene
wish
she
she
had,
had a
the
little
little
more to
scene,
do, though.
that little scene she had with Dewey was one of the was another one of the sadder scenes of the movie.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I do wish that she was a little bit more of the detective. You know what I mean? Because the last couple of films, she's always been a big part of the movie, and she's always been able to figure stuff out before anyone else. I kind of wish she was a little bit more of the detective Gale that we saw in the past. But honestly, when I think about it, that's really not even a negative to me. It's something I'm mixed on. But honestly, while I would like to see more of her, you don't need more of her, and that's something I really like about Stream 5 as well.
Yep,
Same thing with Sydney. I
yep,
really like what she did with her. I wanted there to be more Sydney, but I'm actually really fine with how much Sydney was actually in this movie. I think it was paid off very well.
yep. Now, kind of going into the new characters, I thought the performance from Jenna Ortega as Tara was fantastic,
Tara was great.
especially in the opening scene, man. And plus, I love how they twisted that around. You think she's just the typical opening kill, but no, she's actually a character in the movie. Ghostface comes back for her later in the
Yeah, she
hospital,
does. She doesn't
but they
die.
save, yep, but they save her life, and she just survives the movie. And
Yep.
I hope
And again, it's a
I hope
nice,
she
like I
survives
said,
Scream.
it's a nice homage to the original film, but it's a great twist on the original, which is something that I liked. It's a great homage. This entire film, I'm gonna say that constantly. This is a great homage to the original films.
Mm-hmm. And and do not kill her in Scream 6 because Jenna Ortega is a national treasure, so don't you fucking dare. Excuse
We'll
me.
talk about Scream 6. I have a couple things to say about that movie specifically when we get done.
Alrighty. So, and I do like Sam's story arc too. I mean, the Billy Loomis stuff kind of weirded me out at first, but I'm like, all right, this is just in her head. It's not actually some supernatural ghost stuff. You know, you can tell she's kind
Yep.
of screwed in the head a little bit. She's got a fucked up past. So I was
I
like, all
like
right,
that
this is
though.
all in her head, so I can roll with this. And it was
Yeah.
cool seeing Skeet Ulrich back in the role of Billy.
Yeah, and something else that I also really kind of liked was there was this part of the film that, and it's just me going through the motions of the film, like that they're like, well, the killer it has to be Sam, right? Well, then I'm saying here like no, that can't be. But then halfway through the film, she's seen Billy, right? So I'm thinking,
Mhm.
oh my God, could she be killing without thinking about it?
Is that what you were? That was what you were thinking?
I stopped about just before the third act. I'm like, okay, the third act, I really don't believe that anymore. But that's why he was still one of my suspects in going into the third act, because I'm like, what if what, because of all of this past that has happened to her, all of this bad stuff that has happened in her past, she has gone completely off the rails nuts and doesn't remember whenever she kills.
It could be. It could be.
Of course, that wasn't the case. Instead, we had to pay homage to the original, and I'm not mad about this at all because he ended up being one of my suspects as well, and he ended up being correct. It was the boyfriend.
Yep.
Boyfriend. And there's
And
always
their
two
motives.
in
Kind of
movies.
going back to the meta humor. This was a controversial aspect of Scream 5, and in fact, I actually have there's actually a friend of mine who hates the toxic fandom edge of the meta humor. Hi, John. But I can get it though, because the toxic fandom thing, it's a tricky bridge to cross, because on the one hand, it really can kind of act like they're just trying to silence the idea of toxic fandom, just or it could come off like they don't know what they're doing, or or they could be like they're making it
Exactly.
worse. So I can get how it could be a controversial, tricky bridge to cross, but I personally thought it was a nice touch given what they had to work with because
Yeah. It was pulled off very well. I want to talk about that for a second because you bring up a good note because it's something that I've kind of really noticed as a Star Wars fan. Not only just Star Wars, but this goes for all fandoms and everything that I'm really into. I find that the quote unquote new stuff when it's put out, unlike this film, whenever they put something out just for the sake of money, like Disney has been doing. Sorry to call out Star Wars, but that has been the case.
mhm,
Yeah, Disney is just putting out Star Wars just to make money, and you can tell that there's really no heart or love into what they're putting out. They're only putting it out for profit, and a lot of people don't like it. But here's the thing, though.
unlike this
Yeah,
film, which
here
did have
unlike
a
this
lot of
film.
heart.
But here's the thing though. Then you get into the whole ideas and being a Star Wars fan and talking to so many fans, including Zach and so many other people. I've noticed that a lot of the fan projects and fan properties, and it's not just Star Wars, it's in a lot of other fandoms as well. The people who's grown on up with this and has become great fans have way better ideas than the studios. So it's like, God, studios, why don't you just listen to the fans? And I felt like within
That
the
is a
meta
tricky
humor,
thing though, because
it is, but
yeah, you
within the meta humor
because
of this movie, it was done so stupidly well.
exactly because yeah, listening to the fans is a tricky edge too, because on the one hand, you could get something like Rise of Shitwalker.
That's true.
So
But if you don't listen to the
it's just
fans,
about
you end up
how
with The
you do
Last
it.
Jedi.
Yep,
Sorry.
you don't just want to backtrack off of certain other movies and just pander to fans. You still got to think about what's the best way to actually continue the story. And that's
As
the
well as
way I
paying homage to the original.
Yep, and that's another
That's
thing I think
something
this film
they
did really
fail
well
at.
for. But yeah,
But
the
in
meta
this,
humor
no,
in
this
this
film they do great.
yeah, it was great. Like again, with the going into talk about toxic fandom and all that, it's a tricky bridge to cross, which is why I get to an extent why some friends of mine do not like this movie. But
I actually really think that by bringing in that message into the whole thing, yeah, this is a really messed up way to bring in that message, considering it's a Scream film and it's literally the fans killing people. I hate the fact that that's the case, but
yeah,
I
and
thought that
it
was a
was
really
clever though.
smart way to do it.
It's like they want a new stab movie to be made because all the other movies sucked. They just laugh at us, and why? Because we love something. We're just a fucking joke to them.
I
Yeah,
actually think that was fantastic because that's exactly how a lot of people, including myself, feel about a lot of franchises. Is the fact that they really don't understand the property that they're doing. They don't understand why people fell in love with the original in the first place. If you don't understand why people fell in love with the original in the first place, then please, just don't take the job. And I'm telling you. a lot of people working in Star Wars. That's how I feel, and it's not just Star Wars; it's a lot of other properties too. But Star
Oh yeah,
Wars is the
not
big
just
one that
Star
comes
Wars.
to
Like
mind.
this movie wasn't just poking fun at Star Wars. It was just toxic fandom in general. And again, it's a tricky rope to cross, but I liked how they did it.
Also,
But
I really like the joke about how like was it the third one or the fourth one that's always bad? It went to complete eat trash after the fourth movie when they're up to stab 8. It's like, oh my god, that's great.
oh yeah, Stab 8 was actually the fact with it being Stab 8 was actually a jab at Ryan Johnson directing episode 8, and they actually
That's
the joke
fantastic.
and the joke in Scream 5 is actually that Stab 8, Star Wars episode 8, was directed by Ryan Johnson as well.
That is fantastic because Episode 8, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, literally split the fandom in two, right? So
Yep.
you can tell that in the Stab universe, in this movie's universe, Stab 8 just split the fandom in two, and that's why we got these two psychos trying to make a better movie.
Yeah. But yeah, it was
That's
great. But
it's great because you know what makes it even funnier?
hmm,
Because here I am, here you are. We're a couple of fans that actually makes a couple of fan films ourselves. So the meta humor on top of the meta humor is just it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh
yep.
so much because, dude, this is honestly us.
Hmm.
We're not psychopaths, but
Oh yeah.
it's us.
Alrighty. We will now move on to the mixed.
Yeah, mixed aspects. Let me think. Did you go all over your positives?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so mixed aspects. Another mixed aspect I have is it's really funny because we were just talking about it, but the fact that it was the boyfriend again. It's good. It pays homage to the original. And something that I liked about the film is, again, it was so tricky to figure out who it could have been. I had like almost no clue, but in a good way in this film. I had a blast because of that. To the point where I literally had to guess the boyfriend just because I know the other movies. The fact that I end up being the boyfriend, I'm like, yeah, okay. And I also like the fact that it was the friend as well. I can't remember her name, but
Amber.
yeah, I can't. Yeah, but while Amber makes sense and the boyfriend does make sense, it's a mixed aspect because it's like, of course, it's the boyfriend again. Why
I
not?
can see that. Anything else?
I'm trying to think about mixed aspects. I mean, another mixed aspect for me, honestly, probably would be Sydney being in the movie at all. Like, on the one hand, it's great to have Sydney back. It's great to have her help Sam out a little bit, but it's also like she really didn't play much of a role. But then again, it's also like Luke in The Last Jedi. Like it's one of those things that if you have too much Luke in there, then it ruins the film. If you had too much Sydney in this film, it would have ruined the film because it would take more attraction. You'd be more attracted, paying more attention to Sydney than actually the character of Sam, which that doesn't happen in this movie. So it's something that I'm mixed on, you know? Because
Yeah. And
unlike
again,
with The
I
Last
said,
Jedi, you're so focused on Luke that you
and
don't pay
again,
attention to Ray.
I do like that. As heartbreaking as it is, she was gonna stay away. She had no part in this, but then the dewdrop.
Yep. It's a mixed aspect for me because honestly, it's like God. I'm just watching a better version of the Last Jedi, and I hate bringing that up Star Wars all over again, man. But that's really kind of how this film feels. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny about that.
Hmm. I don't know. Mixed aspects for me. Maybe the fact that Dewey and Gail got divorced.
That's a straight up negative for me.
Oh, really?
Yep.
It's a mixed aspect for me because at least the fact that Dewey dies later, at least the scene they had together was still a good one. You know, they didn't have an argument. It didn't end bitter between them,
That's true.
so at least it was a nice heartfelt scene between them, kind of making up for the mistakes they made in the past. So that's why it's mixed for me. On the one hand, it's like, no, they're because on the one hand, I still feel like their relationship is still being moved forward pretty well. It's like they didn't need to get divorced.
I mean, you know what it's like for me, honestly? Dang it, and I hate bringing up
Hmm.
Star Wars again, but it's like Princess Leia and Han Solo. What was the point of splitting those two characters up? That's
Yep.
why it's a straight up negative of mine.
But other than that, that's
Why does everything go
not.
back to Star Wars with it?
Oh, there's another franchise where I could go to with that, but that's another story. Now we will move on to the negatives.
Okay, like I said, I don't have a lot of negatives. I do have a couple of them. A couple of them are more nitpicks than anything. One negative that I honestly do have is we were just talking about it. The fact that those two were not together in the beginning of this film. I felt like I was expecting Gail to be there. I was expecting Gail to come home and then find out the news from Dewey in person. And the fact that they weren't together, it's like, my God, they should have been together from the last movie. It's like, what was the point of splitting them up? That's just me though. Another negative that I have, again, it's more of a nitpick, but and sorry if you can hear the dogs barking, but and it's kind of a weird nitpick for me as well. But I kind of felt while I don't know, I almost feel like this should be more in the mixed aspect. But I kind of felt there honestly was a little too much homage to the original film, and that there wasn't enough original like how to say it, like
Enough originality,
yeah,
innovation.
exactly. Because while it was a really great movie and it did pay great homage to it, there wasn't enough originality.
I could see that, I suppose. Treading a lot of familiar ground, but I feel like they kind of had to because like it's a new studio, new blood, and all that making this movie.
I
So
mean, like going back to the exact house where everything began. That's a really great twist and all. And having the thing about look behind you, that was great. But even the one thing about don't say hey, I'll be right back. Like
yeah,
it was meta humor. It was fantastic. I also felt like it took a little bit from the film. I enjoyed it, but I mean, if this was the first movie you saw, you never saw the other four of the films, you would never have gotten those jokes, and I felt like there wasn't enough originality
oh
to
yeah,
make it
oh yeah,
different.
and since it's Scream 5, it is a sequel. You would be lost without watching the other four.
I agree with you 100%. There
But yeah,
wasn't enough originality in the film for me. It's kind of weird because as much as I liked the film, it's just something, and it's not even like I said. It's more of a nitpick than an actual negative because I really did like the film for its paying homage to it. I just feel like it paid homage a little too much.
yeah.
But that's just me. That's the only negative I really have. What about you? Any negatives?
Hmm. Maybe that they killed off Sheriff Judy. they killed Judy Hicks in this.
Honestly, that's not negative for me. I was
I mean, don't
surprised.
get me wrong. It's not that it's badly done. The scene is actually really good. You know, she said, "What's your favorite scary movie?" I prefer animated films and musicals. Like the back and forth was great.
Fantastic.
The suspense was great, and her kill was good. Like this Ghostface is savage. She just butchers her in broad daylight. That's actually wow. But it's like I don't know. I mean, it's like I saw kind of a potential with this character for her to stick around a little bit longer, but I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit, but another thing just for me is I actually thought it was actually going to be Judy's son was going to be the killer, and the joke about is the killer going to show up behind the door? I thought was really
Oh,
funny, but I was
that had
like
me laughing in the theater, man. That was
that had me
great.
laughing too in the movie, but yeah, it's not negative. I'm just like, oh my god. Because he was my first suspect, and of course my first suspect dies. So it's not him.
That's how it be. That's how it be.
It's just part of the fun trying to figure out who's gonna actually be the killer in these movies, though.
Hmm. With that being said, any final thoughts we want to put in before we give our final score?
The meta humor is the best part of this film, period. Like
Ditto, ditto.
out of all five of these films, the meta humor in this one was probably the most spot on and hilarious.
Hmm.
Even though, again, it paid too much homage to the original. That again, I think that shouldn't be a negative. I think it should be a mix because I'm mixed on that. It was a seriously like I like the film because it pays homage to it, but I don't like the film because it's too much homage. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird statement, but that's kind of the truth. I felt like they could have done something a little bit original. Maybe if the main villain wasn't actually the boyfriend again, um, maybe I wouldn't feel that way. But it is a very good, very good.
Yep. My final thoughts, given that Wes Craven died, given everything that was going against them at the very thought of making a new movie, I feel like Scream 5 turned out beautiful. It was a loving homage to both the franchise and the man who created it. The acting was great. Some of the legacy characters are the best they've ever been. And I'm
Yeah.
invested enough in this new set of characters to want to follow them for a sequel.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. I will say that my score is a B. It's an A out of 10, and this is my second favorite film in the franchise.
Yep. I am going to give it an A minus and a 9.5 out of 10. They were really able to prove that I mean they played it safe, you could say, but I feel like that's kind of what they had to do. They had to show that they can make something that looks and feels like Scream, and rather than just try to aim for something new and bold right away. It was a nice stepping stone movie to hopefully something new in the next movie. Speaking of which, before we close it up, expectations for Scream 6.
Okay, this is gonna be a really interesting conversation between the two of us. Because just in my opinion, Scream 4 could have ended the franchise, you didn't need anything else. Scream 5 was a great homage to the original film. I really liked it. It's my second favorite film of the franchise already. But it should have ended here. Because again, this is no longer Sydney's story. Sydney's not even gonna be a part of it anymore. That this was great to throw it in this one last ride. And while yes, I really do like Sam, and I really do like the new characters. Sam ended up being the best part of the movie for me. She was my favorite character in the movie. Um, I just it's like you don't need anything past the fifth movie in terms of, in my opinion. So going into this sixth movie, knowing I already know from Zach and Austin here that we are not going to get Sydney. Plus, even if Sydney was in the sixth film, how much of her story was actually going to be there. It's unlike with Star Wars, and I hate to bring that up again, but I'm going to because of this analogy that I'm about to say. But within Star Wars, you know how Episode 8 had Luke, right? Well, Luke dies, and now it's Rey's story, right? And that's Episode 9. Well, guess what? In the fifth movie, we got both Sydney. He's passing the torch, and Sam's original story already set, stone, and done. I don't really see much more you could do with the character. I know
I do like
there's a
the
lot of
idea
things.
though. They're trying to
Yeah.
move away from Woodsboro, trying to get away from all of it. And it makes sense
Yep.
that Gail is there because that's where she has her little news show that she was doing is in New York. So it makes sense that Gail will still be there. Don't kill her off, by
Yeah,
the way.
that's true.
But and I
Yeah, that's
do,
true.
and despite the circumstances as to why Sydney is not coming back, or at least why the actress isn't coming back, I still think story wise it could work in their favor because now that because Sydney came back, they avenged Dewey. She came back to do that one last thing, hopefully. So now it's like Sydney can really put this all to rest and just live her life. So I can buy that Sydney is just not involved anymore. Like in that kind of way, if you get what I mean. I really feel like this can work in their favor as far as the story.
Part of me is like that, but you know what? Another part of me is like, though, dude. It's the whole thing with Star Wars all over again. Here's another Star Wars analogy. I really like Episode 7, didn't like Episode 8, and 9 I'm mixed on, but honestly, by calling it Star Wars Episode 7, you're insinuating that this is a continuation of the Skywalker line. And I really felt like the sequel trilogy is not a continuation of the Skywalker line. So they should have called it Star Wars The Adventures of Rey or something like that. With calling this next movie Scream 6, I don't think they should have called it Scream 6 because Scream 6, the title insinuates that this is the continuation of Sydney's story, and Sydney's story is done. So I'm kind of sitting here like, yeah, if you wanted to make another Scream film, that's fine, but you should have called it Scream: The Adventures of Sam. I know that's a stupid title. You could think of something way better than that, but you know what I mean. And I
Yeah,
really don't think you need to tell that
and it is
story, in my
still
opinion.
continuing the story, so that does make it a sequel.
Yeah, but it continues Sam's story, which again, I feel like other than Scream 5, like you could almost call Scream 5 something completely different. Like it does continue Sydney's story. It kind of finishes Sydney's story as well as tells a new story with Sam, opens a new door. But I do like that. But I think after Scream 5, you should have gone on and called it something else. Scream, Scream. No, you know what? They should call it Sam's New Screams or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
still
that's a
excited.
terrible
I'm
title.
still excited for the movie. Though this is my most
I'm
anticipated horror
interested to
movie
see
of the
what
year.
they do with it. I'm interested to see what they do with it, and I'll
And
definitely check it out for the review and all that. But right now, I'm sitting here like with my expectations kind of not low, but controlled.
fair enough. And I do like, and I hope there's some kind of meta reference to Jason Takes Manhattan in this because let's be honest, this is going to be what that movie should have been. For all those who know, you know.
Knowing
This
meta
I am
humor, it
sure
probably
is
will.
going to this I am sure is going to be Jason Takes Manhattan done right. It better be. But yeah, I am hyped out of my mind for Scream 6. Even if there is going to be a Dewey size hole in there.
Yeah, that's another thing though, dude. Dewey's gone. I know they have Gale, but Sydney is done. And I'm not talking about just the actor. I'm talking about the character story. Sydney is done. Dewey is gone, and all we have left is Gale. And I'm sorry, I like Gale, but I don't think Gale's enough.
Yeah. With that being said, that I believe that is going to do it for us here today.
Yep.
That has been our reviews of all the Scream movies up to date, leading up to the release of Part 6 in March. Until then, I'm going to lead it off to Dylan. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me, of course, later on. Um, Actually, not later on. You guys can find me tomorrow, of course, on the Austinators channel for the DC reviews. We are reviewing the last movie in the DC animated universe, at least this version of the animated universe. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to find out how it all ends, and we will be reviewing that with my buddy Austin tomorrow at 10:15. So you guys check out my buddy Austin Near's channel. I am of course here for the Scream reviews with my buddy Zach. Of course, I am moving, so I'm going to be taking a break. But when we get back, Scream 6 eventually will come out. I won't be able to see it right away, but eventually Zach here will show me it, and we'll eventually have a Scream 6 review. That will be fun. You guys can also find me on my own channel, Anime Talk, where I gather up a couple of friends, and we simply talk about anime. Me and Austin have been talking about Death Note recently, and when I get back, we will be talking about Cowboy Bebop. But again, just any anime. If you guys are interested in any anime and want to hang out and chat, come find me on my own channel. Like, share, and subscribe to everybody. I'm also on Tim Possible's channel for every now and again. Go check him out as well. Thanks for having me on, Zach. And boy, was that a damn mouthful.
Anytime, anytime. You can, of course, find me right here on my own channel. And you can also find me on the Austinators channel, where we have been reviewing the DC Animated Universe movies. It is up in the air whether or not I will be able to make it for the Apocalypse War review, because I will be seeing Ant-Man Quantumania on the 17th. But I will try to make it for his ranking of the DC animated movies later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, we will see you all next time. And regarding Scream 6, to the asshat who leaked Scream 6 yesterday, we take spoilers seriously. Dead seriously.
I'm
Later,
surprised you
fellas.
didn't play the clip.
Alrighty. We will see you all next time. Later, fellas.
Bye.